Okay.
So Sonali, maybe once it starts, maybe we just take 5 seconds to introduce us quickly, and then I can talk
Right.
about Blue Circle.
Sure. Okay. Do you want to just start, Karthik, or wait for a minute?
Yeah, maybe wait for a minute. If any of you have joined now, if you can just send a message. If you are seeing us clearly, hearing us clearly, if you can just put in a message, it will be helpful. We will start in a minute. Thank you, Vinita, for the confirmation. Um, I think as we're setting this up, we'll probably start this in another minute. Um, so we'll give a minute for everyone to join us, and we will start with the topic today. Great, thank you. I think we have.
I think we can start. Yeah.
I think we should start. Yes. Okay. So hello everyone. Good evening. So another good Sunday, and we are hoping to discuss some of the basic things about back to school and how to manage T1D. Just to give a quick introduction, myself, I'm Karthik. I am from Coimbatore, and I am father of a type 1 diabetic girl. My daughter is 14 years now. She's getting into the ninth standard, and she was diagnosed 4 years back, and during COVID times. And we have been managing, with multiple daily injections for a while, and after that we moved to a pump. Today we are here, myself and Sonali will introduce about herself in a bit, but we are here to talk about some of the tips as the school starts, how we will do certain things, some checklists and some experiences that we have, and also take some comments and questions. So Sonali, if you could introduce yourself, please, before we get started.
Yeah. Hi, everyone. I'm Sonali. I'm mother of Rama. She is 16 years old. She's been a type 1 since she was 8 years old, so probably fourth grade. So it has been a long and wonderful journey right since her primary school, middle school, high school, and now she's 16 and she's in 11th grade. Initially, we were on injections and vials, and then we shifted to a basic pump, and now we are on to a 780G. And it's been a wonderful journey. I and Karthik both, we would like to share what we went through while sending our kids to school. So, Karthik, can you just
Sure.
start? Yeah.
Thank you very much, Sonali, for that. Okay, so before we start with the main topic, just so everyone know, Blue Circle has been doing a wonderful job for parents like me and T1D, children and adults alike. It's great support from the team, and these workshops on Sundays have been going on for about 4 years. There have been about 200 plus workshops, and a lot of options available. With the great set of volunteers, Nuku, Rohan, and everyone in the team. There's a lot of peer support. You can set up buddy calls, and there's also app for tracking your blood glucose numbers. You can integrate your app to this app on your phone. Not to mention the recipes you have, low carb diets, insulin basic calculations. So I think we can go on and on with what all we have with Blue Circle Foundation and its app and websites and great people there. So it's great to be here again, and I've been here for a few sessions, and I've been an audience as well here. So always excited to be here. So today, as we start the school year, the new academic school year, we would like to touch upon some of the basic things, some of the experiences that that we have all gone through. And to start with, I think we would say to touch upon some basics. We ensure certain things that are must have for a child, be it a primary school or secondary school, doesn't matter. But what they should be carrying with them in terms of diabetic supplies. And then Sonali will talk about how the challenges are in terms of different school stages and so on. But to start with, I think for our daughter, one thing that we have been trying to do is that the school bag to start with always contains a kit. The kit has all the necessary things that's needed. So starting from glucometer and hypo treatment, glucogels, and there's always spare insulin in a Frio pack. And if they are on insulin pumps, then you have spare patches or the cannula as they call. And if it's multiple daily injection, then you have the syringes or the pens that are available. So and also some snack, always a pack of their favorite cookies or maybe banana or whatever that they can eat when their numbers are unexpectedly going low because of any activity. So I think one thing is as a parent we are always worried about is the hypos more than the hypers. I think because the hyper numbers we can always bring it down, but whereas hypo can be a little more challenging and difficult for the child, and as well as that there can be a lot of anxiety for the parents as well. Um, Now, I guess some of us will have the continuous glucose monitors connected to a mobile app and so on, which we can monitor remotely. But there are also cases where we don't have that available with someone, and sometimes when the network goes down, or the child has kept the phone somewhere and went to play, and we cannot monitor those things. So it's important as the child grows to a certain age, let's say 8 years, 9 years, or 10 years, they understand what to do. And of course, if they are in the primary and pre-primary, the challenge is different. The teachers and support system at school will have to play a bit more, bit higher role than what in the grown-up classes would do. So just to start off, warm up things here. We make sure that the school bag contains everything they need, and I think these days there are many schools that are really supportive of this. And I haven't, we have shared in this forum as well. Many parents sharing that the school management has been really helpful. They have been, doing whatever is necessary if something is required for the child, whether it's eating during a class session or maybe take some snacks inside the examination hall or the glucometer and so on. So, just on this point, we would also like to remind everyone that the National Commission for Protection of Child Rights had released a circular last year. It essentially asked the schools to give the necessary support to the students. It could be taking snacks into the classroom, or if they are finding themselves in a hypo or a low sugar situation, they are allowed to eat certain things. So it is important that as parents we are aware of this. We engage the school administration, the principal, the teachers, and be very open about the child's condition to them, and also make sure that the child gets the attention and support whenever they need that. So we wanted to start off with that basic note. So Sonali, I'll let you now explain or add points and talk about some of the school challenges you have had.
Yeah, so Karthik and I were trying to break this school journey into three parts, like the initial primary, middle school, and high school. So type 1 hits you at any of these ages, and might be a new experience walking into high school with type 1 or middle school with type 1 or pre-primary. So let me start with the primary part of it. That was exactly when my daughter was diagnosed. So I exactly knew what all I had to go through emotion wise and practically also. So the first thing I did was go and inform the principal, inform all the staff, the teachers, the staff, including the mama, maushis, whoever look after your child during the school time. And I was surprised that almost no one knew about type 1 diabetes. So then I just took it upon me to gather everyone. I made a pamphlet, I printed about 20 copies of it. I gave one to each teacher and made sure everyone knew what was type 1 exactly. So this avoids a lot of questions to your kids. They don't have to face these questions, answer anything which they probably don't know at that age of 5, 7, 8. They hardly know anything. And everyone was aware. I ensured that there was glucose or snacks on every floor of the school. That was a bit too much, but I was just ensuring my child's safety. And simple things like letting her take breaks to go and visit the loo, have water next to her. She could have a snack break anytime she wanted. So all these things I ensured that the teachers had clearly understood. And then a couple of teachers we pinpointed where she could go to if she was not feeling, she was confident with, and she could go to when she was not feeling well, probably low, and just inform the teacher and have a snack. So that also helped a lot. So, with that, again, informing her close friends, the parents of the close friends, that this was the situation. So, even though the kids were small, the parents coming to the school and informing the kids helped Rama navigate this journey quite easily, especially when it came to Dabba part, where at the age of 7 or 6, you cannot really control what your kids eat. The kids around her started getting a sensible dabba. If the dabba had anything high caloric, I would always get a phone call from the parents that we are giving khichdi or something with high carbohydrates. So can you ask her daughter to dose accordingly? Also, I and Karthik were discussing this in the morning, that in this journey of your child going to the school, the parents really have to be a bit more proactive. So, to keep the mental strength of the child, to make him more confident, the parent, though not in the foreground but in the background, has to be a strong support system. So, whether if for example, like Rama was requiring multiple injections during the day. Even though she was an actrapet, the school was going on a long duration, and I had to visit the school to give her a dose. So even though I was working, I made sure I got that break and I went. So the child felt reassured that she was looked after. So, Karthik, did you have something similar when your daughter entered the school?
Yeah, I mean, for us, it was a bit different situation because it was COVID times. So luckily, I mean, in a sense that we were
Yeah,
all home.
home.
We were working out of home, and she was also taking online school. So it
Right.
sort of helped because that 1.5 years from the day of diagnosis, she was at home, and
Yeah.
thankfully, by the time school started, we understood how her blood sugars behave for certain food and so on. So we had a better situation. But I agree with you. You know, once she started the school, it's definitely a very similar experience. Though.
Right. And things change as you grow up. So when you go into middle school, suddenly the whole dynamics of type 1 actually changed. It was quite surprising for me, but kids understand this much more better. And usually it helps if you ask a close, by then the kids have formed friendships. It's not like a generic group. So ask the kids in her group to look out for her if she was feeling low, down, not feeling good, to just nudge her and ask her to talk to the teacher or go and talk to the teacher themselves. So that helped me quite a few times. So slowly during this middle school years, one more conscious decision we all have to take is to let the kids take a few decisions on their own, so that they are confident whether they make mistakes or not, like dosing sometimes, or what to eat, or all those things. So when the school starts, the parents and the kids should know that it is a safe place for them to be in. Once everyone is informed, the parents can probably share a nearby hospital or the physician's number with the school, their contact numbers, contact number 1, contact number 2, contact number 3, a family friend, a grandparent. Everything should be clearly noted and put in the school's note, whatever, the principal's cabin or some place where everyone can access it. Karthik, anything else to add in this?
Sure. Probably, one of the challenges we can discuss only a bit is that, I have had, within some of the known community of type 1 diabetes, sometimes there are challenges in being open to the school, and mainly, at least to the teachers, it is working out okay. But there is a bit of hesitation in letting their fellow classmates know about the condition. Probably this is some sort of anxiety or stigma that's around it, so that it is very important to address that. I feel that friends can be, or their classmates can be of great support when they need, because not all the time teacher watches the student, as much as their friend or their benchmate watches them and has fun around with them. So it's maybe one point that we would like to insist is, there needs to be, there shouldn't be any stigma in terms of communicating to everyone around the child about type 1 diabetes. So for me, I have a personal experience because my sister is also a type 1 diabetic, and this was back
Okay.
in this was probably 25 years back, and she has been managing it pretty well, and she's doing pretty good as well. But I remember even at that time there was a lot of hesitation in the family that we wouldn't tell everyone, we wouldn't tell the relatives, or we would find it very difficult to open up to the classmates or school teachers and so on. But over time we have learned that the more that we are open with the circle they are in, the more helpful it is. So maybe it is difficult to start with, but one of the strong things that we have learned is that that stigma shouldn't be there. It's no one's fault that T1D gets get diagnosed for any child or any grown up. So it's important to break that stigma, and keep the friends also communicated sufficiently so that they can do that. In fact, my daughter says whenever she's tired in her class or she looks tired, there is immediately a friend or two, handing her a chocolate. Maybe
Yeah.
sometimes pretends to be tired so that she gets a chocolate as
Chocolate. I
well.
can. So,
uh,
Snehal
okay.
here is asking what are the key things we would like to let the parents or the kids know as the school starts now. So we can just probably summarize it a bit like what Karthik said. First of all, make sure that your kid is carrying the dia kit, as we call it, including all the things you need for the insulin administration, as well as a small snack or some glucose. Everything has to be there in the bag. That has to be checked. Next thing is make sure that the teachers and the staff know, everyone around the child knows. Make sure the child is comfortable with a couple of teachers so that he or she can approach them whenever they feel uncomfortable. uh, Third thing, let the teachers know that the child has to be looked into seriously if he or she complains of any uneasiness, tiredness, or something which is not normal, and not shake it off, or he has to be looked into. So that is one more thing. And letting the friends know, making a list for the dabba. So if you plan to give healthy food in your dabba, it is not easy. You have to plan ahead. So maybe on a Saturday, Sunday, sit down with the child and make a list of what things he or she would like in their dabba, because usually you end up having two or more dabbas. So plan sensibly. See what the child is the child going to have any physical activities, any outdoor activities. So you need to plan a snack accordingly. So probably these are the 4 5 things in general you need to plan when the child is about to start the school. But more than that, I feel the challenge lies in navigating the school itself. So we need to be prepared for that. Like when we
Yeah.
talk about physical activities, Karthik, we need to encourage the kids to partake in all the physical activities with no excuses of type 1. Make sure that the teachers know that they are absolutely okay, unless there is a huge hypo or anything, they can absolutely play and
Right.
go around.
That's a very important point, Sonali. In fact, one point I would like to add there is, for example, the hypos during PT period. So that's
Yeah.
something that we have also, probably many of us have experienced that, right? So not every day there is a PT period, and suddenly on a Wednesday or a Thursday there is a PT period, and then they take the same amount of insulin for the same food, just to end up saying that 10:30 or 11 when they have a PT class, that the number really drops. So I think one of the changes that we have also tried and do is, of course, they give the timetable of when the PT period is, and on those days we try to modify the insulin that she gets as well, or either go for a slightly higher carb food so that they don't get that hypo
Yeah.
or low sugar during those classes. And for us, it's usually on Wednesdays and Thursdays, so we know that Wednesdays and Thursdays that she needs to either take less insulin or eat something extra to
Extra.
counter for that effect. So maybe Sonali, how you handle that during PT periods and classes for your daughter?
Yeah, usually the same. And then I would advise Rama to carry something in her pocket while going onto the ground so that she doesn't have to rush back or create an emergency right on the ground, right?
Mhm.
So don't want that. So usually a glucovita bolt in her pocket would help her. And Karthik, the same thing goes for these middle school or high school kids while writing exams. So sometimes seriously they have a high, they can't concentrate. Sometimes they have a low and they cannot finish the paper. So I think a special instruction has to be given to the teacher regarding this also. What do you say?
Yeah, I think, of course, the challenge remains with the multiple daily injection that they still have to go and take that extra injection to bring the numbers down.
Right,
And
right,
probably the early middle school is still a challenge for the child to inject themselves and so on.
right.
For you know, I think if the child is trained to do that, looking at the number maybe on a glucose monitor or a flash glucose monitor, if they are trained to do that, I think the school is already informed. We would assume so they can take a quick break to get that injection. Otherwise, it may get worse for them as the exam. And we have seen that during exams, the numbers are not
Really
much
high.
control, right? It can go all the
Yeah,
way. In fact, when my daughter was in multiple daily injection, that's what she was able to. But I think maybe we need to acknowledge the challenge that in the early middle class, it's still difficult for the child to know how much to put, or if they don't have a CGM, what they feel. Maybe go if they have a so they should if they feel tired. I think they should always carry a glucometer at least, and
yeah,
just ask the teacher to hand that over to them and see if they can at least know the number. But I think a lot depends on how the child, as the child grows, it will become easier, definitely. But I
right.
think in the early stages, definitely a challenge for the parents. So maybe Sonali, that part I don't know completely how we can handle if the child is really young and it's fine. It's not that
I,
easy.
I think I remember like when Rama was really around 8, 9, the first couple of years, I used to wait outside the exam hall. I think this might sound a bit crazy, and everyone doesn't have the time to do that. But I used to be really anxious then. And then later on, I started, I think, instructing one of the teachers, one of the class teachers or something, to just watch out for her, ask her once in between, and maybe take a break in between the exam to just have a look at your sugars, eat something, or take a dose, whatever is applicable then. And there's a funny story that once Rama came out of a maths paper and she told me, Mama, I couldn't finish the last two questions because I was having a severe hypo and I couldn't finish the paper. I was just sitting there blank. So these things also
Mm,
happen, and you have to understand that the kid really probably
mm,
goes through all this and not be judgmental or say anything to the kid. So that is also
right.
there.
Especially with the generation these days, Somalia. There is no pushing like what we have seen, even
Yeah, 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 yeah.
diabetic or non-diabetic. But I think you're right. So it's very important to be in the journey with them, acknowledge the challenges that they are going through.
Absolutely.
I think we would never understand their real challenge as much as we can support them. I think the challenge that they have to put up is really difficult than that. And also coming to middle school, there is also going to be the peer pressure on several things, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. Suddenly they want to go have an ice cream. They want to go have a chocolate or a cake. There are birthday parties. There are
Sleepovers.
always yeah, sleepovers. And in the context of school, there is always birthdays, chocolate, and cake. So I
Yeah.
think that's one of the other things where if the child understands again, they are in the stage where they could take the multiple daily injection or the injection that's needed for a cake, or but it takes a lot of conversation, I guess, and planning because sometimes we wouldn't know when that birthday happens. It could be a surprise thing when they get to the school and it happens. But I think maybe until like 10 years or 11 years old, it could still be maybe we should let the child be and then just make sure that the hypos don't happen often and the hyper doesn't go too bad. But maybe once they hit that age of 8, 10, and so on, then I think more and more education, more and more
Yeah.
independent control is something that we have to look forward to.
Also, when the child is in doubt, they can of course make a phone call from the school to the parent, because Rama used to call me up frequently. Like, there is this school lunch, and Mama, there are two jalebis in it. I at least want to eat one, and my sugar is like this. What do I do? So that also can be arranged, can be done once you talk with the teachers and let them know that she's allowed to call you up and ask all these questions. So that is
Right.
also, yeah, that is
Yeah.
also. Karthik, we have to touch upon this topic about the kids being not conscious about taking their doses or checking their sugars in school. What is your take on that?
I think one thing we can train the child is that even when they are in home during weekends or during holidays, we always try and make a habit of them doing blood glucose check at least 3 times a day, if not more than that. Maybe just before a meal, before lunch, before snack once, and of course they are going in school. They have two snack and one lunch typically. There's a
Okay,
morning snack, there is lunch and an evening snack. So we have always told our daughter that when you are in doubt, definitely before lunch you should know what number it is. So you
absolutely.
if you don't have a CGM, if the CGM is not working, then always prick and check what your number is so that you can bolus accordingly. So I would say my thought on that is I think during weekends also we should assume that it is school and let them do some of these activities so
True.
that they know what to do before snack or lunch or whenever they feel tired. And I think most of the time the kid or the child understands when something is not normal for them. So there's something that tells them. So we need to just have the conversation and then say, whenever you feel that you are even not normal by 5% or 10%, don't wait for you to be too tired or too don't wait too long. You can always take and try and check. If you have a if you have the glucometer with you, I think it always helps. And as soon as whenever the earliest time possible, we should be um, sort of giving them the training at home
Right.
that they're able to do that before meals and snacks.
So, Karthik, one more thing we had tried with Rama was when we were fairly new to all this and she was just entering school, for a week before or 2 weeks before, we would follow the same timetable as school.
Yes.
So, the lunch, the breakfast, lunch, and the snack timing was followed, and we would note down the sugars and decide the dose beforehand. So, once you get to know the trend, it's easier to follow that in school. This might help a few parents to work out their meal plans and the doses.
Definitely, that's a great point, Sonali. I think, but only thing I'm having struggle is that when I try to wake up my daughter Advika at like 7 o'clock, like school time, she never gets up. She says it's holiday, I won't wake up. So the challenge is, but I agree with you. That's a perfect way to do it. I think we should simulate the school timings, timetable, the food they eat. We
Yeah,
can't make it 100% like activities and classes, but at least the meal time, the wake up time and bedtime, we also try to match it like 1 week before or 3 4 days before the school starts.
yeah,
It's a valid point. And there's a comment from Rajiv that teachers and one or two close friends definitely agreed. Rajiv, that's I think it's necessary to do that. That at least a few friends of them know the condition and maybe tell them some of the basic things that they can do to help with it. Um,
and
that's a,
good close friends are really good observers, and you get a lot of feedback from them. Like
yeah,
Rama used to get these mood swings in between, and she used to feel really low in school, and I would immediately get a feedback, auntie, there's something wrong with her, she's not the same in the classroom. And then you had to watch her graph and see what is going wrong actually, or what is happening, or what is playing on her mind, and talk to her and get it out. So yes, Rajiv, close friends are a boon. Yeah,
yeah. And probably another topic we want to touch upon is involve the child in planning the meals, right?
absolutely.
So in our home, I remember one a couple of years back. Then we sat in with my daughter and my wife. We sat and then wrote down all of her favorite dishes that we bake at home, and we try to be with the medium to low carb dishes to the extent practical. And within that, whatever she likes the most, we try to prioritize that.
Right.
So while for children they need a certain, they cannot be like close to zero carbs, but they need their carbohydrates. They need whatever they need for their age. But we shouldn't overdo with the carbs, especially with type 1 diabetes. The numbers can keep shooting up and down. It gets into a vicious cycle of high sugars. Then you put a correction, then it goes to low sugar.
Crash it
So,
down.
to the extent possible, we try to have low carb diet, except for those cakes and ice creams. We can control that. That happens, but at least whatever we are trying to do, I think one thing is to also involve them um, in the planning of meals for a week, or at least whatever we can help them in terms of getting their as much as possible their favorite food and snack. We try to do that. So that's one tip that will also help that they also eat. Because sometimes I've seen my daughter when she was about 11 years old, she would put the bolus and she would start eating, and she wouldn't like something that she's eating and then just leave the food halfway. And the risk is, of course, the hypos hitting after 30 minutes or so. So we have had that experience also one or two times, and we realized that she didn't like the food that much that was sent with her in the box. So after that, we have made some changes in terms of what she likes. We try to make things more that, and then she's also involved in terms of what she needs, and uh, and and I think we after a point it became easier so that whatever bolus she puts, she knows that she needs to eat that much. Otherwise, there's going to be a hypo. But especially for younger children, 8 years or even 7 years, 6 years, and 5 years, where they wouldn't understand or they may not understand these things fully. I think it's very important to pack lunch that they like, so they understand that, and then that's an indirect way of making sure that they eat fully. There is no risk of hypo, or we don't have to be organized.
And the most important thing as parents, what we can do is make this school journey as normal as possible for the child. They're already going through a lot of mental stress. So let them enjoy all the physical activities, the inter school meets, the picnics, the parties after school, or whatever they want to do. I mean, Rama always wanted to do everything: inter school kho competitions, a few kilometers away, a picnic about 5 hours away, and you just have to make it happen. Please don't say no to your child because of type 1. Let the child just enjoy to the fullest, because these days are not going to come back again. So do whatever you can to be by your child and just help them navigate through this. That's one more very important thing.
That's very true. I think we have to try and make their life as normal as it can be. If not 100%, then at least we are looking at 80-90% of the time that they're doing
Right.
everything. And that's right, Sonali. I think as a type 1D a parent, I think it also takes a bit more effort to make sure that they are able to participate in everything, and be the support that they need. And another thing probably for parents is to have a lot of conversation with the child. I think that's true for a type 1 diabetic child or a non-type 1 diabetic child, but especially with a type 1 diabetic child, I think the conversations make it's very critical. We have that conversation with them on what they are going through. In terms of, as you rightly said, the struggles inside the mind. I think that's bigger than the physical
Yeah.
struggle sometimes. So I think one of the things that we also try and do is to, of course, not prod too much. They don't like us, asking too many questions or giving them advice. I think that doesn't work. But I think in a very fun way, in a very as friendly as we can be with them, but still be a parent, and try to get what's going through in their mind. Maybe and my daughter is now a teen. The last 2 years she has entered into teenage. They have, of course, their secrets. They have their life with their friends and so on. That's fine. But I think we always try and gauge how her mood is in general. Is she, the usual self, doing her usual things? However, they are. Maybe some kids are very, enthusiastic, energetic always. Some kids can be, a bit, reading books. They are into. They are very calm, and whatever maybe their normal style, whatever their preference is, we try to observe that maybe from some distance and make sure that they are feeling their usual self.
Yeah.
There is no, of course, the judgment is it cannot be there. But I think it helps, and I hope Sonali, maybe you have more experience in this in terms of age. You're up to 16, mine is 14.
Yeah.
You're now farther in the teenage area, but I think it's very important to have that conversation, and I hope we'll be able to do that until they grow up enough that they become grown enough to take care of everything themselves.
Yeah, these conversations are never easy because you barely get anything out of the teens. But I'm sure they go through a lot of upheavals. Any normal teen does so, especially with your type 1 playing on in your mind. And I think around 9, 10th, you really start feeling the difference between being normal and having type 1. And it starts hitting you somewhere. For some, it starts early, some it starts later, but it does hit you. And when it hits you, it just throws you off balance. So that is the time when you need to be there for the kids, because there is no taking back of type 1. You just have to deal with it.
Right.
So keeping your mental strength and asking the child to face it could be a tough task, but I'm sure the child needs your support. That's the time when, in some school, a little bit of bullying starts, a little bit of separating you activity per se. I remember sometimes a few friends used to plan a movie and an outing or something, and probably one or a couple of times Rama might not have gone or might not have been invited. So that's okay. I mean, you just have to deal with it and find your own sweet spot somewhere and enjoy to the fullest. So all these things are very tricky as you grow up. So yeah,
Definitely, definitely. I think that's a well point. Maybe to touch upon, that this is the challenge that probably they have from middle school to the end of high school, but also the pre-middle school children probably they are very free in their spirit. I think
yeah,
they take this as part of their life and take it on the stride mostly. But I think they need more supervision in terms of. I think that's where the teachers in school can play a very critical part because their friends are also going to be very young and they're all children and can't expect
yeah.
much. So I think for pre-middle, the parents of the pre-middle school children, I think it's very very important and critical to have this very frequent conversation with the teachers that handle their class, it could be a class teacher or their favorite teachers, to always have to have the to request them to keep an eye on the very young children that we have in school.
So a very simple thing like the mamas or maushis usually take the very young kids, like 4 5 years old age kids, to the loo breaks. So I remember some parent once telling me that the maushi used to get very irritated. Ki bar bar ja rahe ho,
Mm,
why you
mm,
have to
mm,
go so many times. So even those people have to be informed that it is not that she's going on a whim or fancy. It
mm.
is her need to go, probably her sugars are high. So all this information has to trickle down to the bottom, and you should be very very open about it. If you are open as a parent about type 1 and not hesitant in your conversations with strangers or relatives or family or whatever, the kid picks it up from you. The kid can sense if you are being hesitant and not being open about this, or whatever, if there is a shame or a stigma around in the family, the kid will sense it. So please be open about it. There is nothing to hide or be shameful of. And the number of people you tell, the more number of people, your kid is going to be more protected by the people around him or her. So my policies, I tell anyone and everyone with whom Rama is going to be associated that, hey, she has type 1 and this is it. I mean, this is what she is going through right now. So it helps.
It definitely does, and sometimes it's quite I would say it's surprising how friends are actually, even though they are very young children, 8 years, 7 years, or 10 years,
Yeah.
that they can be so caring to their friends. Like I said, my daughter, when we told when we told her that you need to keep your friends informed if you're not feeling well, if you're tired, and there are always people around her to support her. So I think there's no doubt that this should be a very open discussion. But having said that, I think we have also seen it's been difficult for some parents, but I think it's important to take the support from the peers. I think Nupur and team can
Yeah. Yeah.
help really well in terms of have a conversation with them, ask them some tips of how to go about this, in terms of how to communicate without any stigma and how to get that help. I think we all need help. There is no doubt about it as young parents of young children. Um, so I think if you are stuck in your mind that you're unable to come out of this or something is blocking your mind, I think it would be great to discuss that with your family, close friends, and of course, there's peer support like Blue Circle Foundation that the parents should also make use of. I think while we talk a lot about children, I think parents and caretakers of T1D also needs some support. It can be difficult on, it can be, the level of difficulty could be different with different parents, and sometimes there are financial challenges with this. So I think it can build up into a lot of stress, and I think that's why support groups like this exist. And there's WhatsApp group, there's Facebook, and I think we are all well connected. And I've
Yeah.
seen in those WhatsApp group as well that people are interacting and asking their challenge. So I think we should encourage more and more of parents and caretakers getting that support, be vocal and forget the stigma and support the child to the best possible way.
So actually, even I tried to connect with parents of kids of similar age with Rama. So maybe girls of similar age, boys of similar age, and there are some common problems. You sometimes find solutions in these conversations with the parents, sometimes which you fail to notice, recognize, or address. So that helped me a lot. So, but again, that is a part of being open about it, and talking and discussing and thrashing it out then and there. And
Right.
Karthik, I actually forgot one point. So, and these kids, as you said, when they are small, they are very open and they take this in the right spirit, and they don't realize that they are any different, or and
Mhm.
we are the ones who are looking after them. But once as they grow older and all, these kids become very smart. They sometimes try to use type 1 to their advantage. you know Simple things like skipping school, or getting out of an activity, or not getting a punishment. So this is one thing you have to be careful about, that your child doesn't use type 1 as a stick to, or as a support to get out of anything. I was very
Right.
uh, particular about it. Maybe missing a day or two when you're not feeling well, or if you've had a hypo night, or that is fine. I mean, you're not forcing your kid, but making sure that thin line is not crossed. So I remember telling Rama's teacher once that if you're making the kids stand out for 2 hours as a punishment, Rama has to be one of them. If you think she deserves that punishment, there is no excuse for that. So
Mm.
sometimes that third eye has to be open during school.
I fully agree. While we want the best for the children, I guess too much of pampering will also
Right.
be a thing on the other side. I fully agree, but I think depends on, and they're really smart. I think you said the right line, and they're smart in both ways. And one is once they get to this 10 years, 11 years, I think the children these days they learn a lot. They have Google on their fingertips, especially after COVID online class. Even if they have any doubts, they go to Google and then ask. And I think it is helping them a lot in terms of understanding their situation, how to respond to that, and so on. Definitely smart, but yeah, I think Sonali, you're right. We'll do our best to keep our eyes open and hope we can figure it out when they are
And
taking
I'm
off.
sure these days, with the generation growing up so fast, kids even as 7 and 8 maybe also pick up on this and maybe try and use it. So I'm not sure how it works these days with the younger generation, but I'm sure
Sure.
that must have happened.
Yeah.
One more point I remember, when I had a talk with Rama's principal initially. She was full support, and she said, "Don't worry, there is a hospital next door. If anything happens, we'll be the first one to rush her. We'll keep a watch out for her, and don't worry about anything. We are there for her and all." And but still, there was like a slight worry or tension on that headmistress face. So there was one simple sentence which I told her, "Madam, the onus of this disease is not on you. The responsibility of whatever happens to her and all is finally us, because we have to look out for her as parents. So don't worry about that. Just do the best you can whenever the need arises." So that set off the tone, and the teachers and the principal were very relaxed. They would always look out for her no matter what. I mean, I remember teachers sharing their dabba with Rama because she was feeling a hypo, giving her a laddu from their dabba or whatever. But if it all depends upon how it goes, the how the conversation flows, because you can't put the full onus of your child's type 1 onto the school also. So you have to be around, you have to be aware, and you have to be a part of it. So please, parents, remember this, that the school is not entirely responsible, and you cannot expect so.
Definitely, that's true. And I think Nupur has a question on the stigma again, social stigma, fear of future. What advice you would have for the parents? Um, I think um, I think what really helps is to at the first level. I think when the child gets diagnosed for the parent, I think the first wave of emotion is, how are we going to handle this, and is it really life threatening, or how can, and there are several questions that pop up in the mind, and definitely future is one thing. In fact, one of the parent of type 1 diabetic child who was working in my office said, she is about 17, 18 years, and his concern was that if I say it outside, there could be a problem in finding a groom for her, right? So these are all practical. While we think, probably it's too early to think about that, but I think parents are keeping these things in their mind. And for this father, it was this, and probably for some other father, it was whether their child would be seen differently by her friends or his
Right,
friends,
right.
whether they would be sidelined. why they are not talking. I think one thing that every parent has to think about is what is it stopping them from expressing themselves, and because this is necessary for the good of the child. So I think that comes first. The second thing is to have that introspection and then see why are we not being open where we should be. Wherever it's necessary, we need to somehow break that fear. So I think it is definitely that fear that's coming out. And um, and I think that needs to be addressed. While I think some parents are, maybe handling it better. They are able to quickly say, "Yeah, this has happened, but we'll have to see the best possible thing. Let's do whatever is needed." But I think there are still parents who are thinking a lot, getting stressed up. Again, nothing judgmental about them as well.
Right.
I think in their situation, if someone is there, probably I would think the same way as well. But one thing I would like to tell to support them, or to get the thing out, is have this conversation with experts. Have this conversation with doctors. Have this conversation with peer supports like Blue Circle Group. It's a very secured forum. It's a very protective forum and a very supportive forum as well. I think it's very important to open up why they are not able to communicate and why they are not. What is stopping them. I think we need to answer that question. It could be different reason for different people, and I think as diabetes support community and as doctors and as teachers, it has to come from all levels. And I think the parents should not stop themselves from getting the support from anyone that's needed. I don't think there is anything
Yeah.
uh, that should stop them from asking that question to them even before going out. That's think that's the first step. I think that's the first step to break that stigma in their own mind.
Yeah, as just now Blue Circle has put on a message that saying that if anyone has trouble getting admission due to type 1 in school, connect with us. Let me make aware to all the new parents that no school can deny you admission because of type 1. It is not done. And if any school is harassing you or you feel it is denying admission because of that, please get in touch with Blue Circle. They all are always there to help you, personally come with you if needed be, write letters, whatever it needs to be done will be done by Blue Circle. But remember, no one can deny you admission. That is
Right.
there.
And Sonali, probably one more topic that we would like to
Yeah.
touch upon. Probably there is 12 minutes. We'll take another 2 minutes and wrap up and see if there are any questions.
Right.
Is use of technology, right?
Yeah.
So there is always an element of element of economics to it. There are you have on one side the basic treatment that we have with the conventional syringes, insulins, multiple daily injections, and on the extreme other spectrum you have the hybrid closed loop, the insulin pumps, and
Yeah.
there is also a middle way. I think what I have seen in the Blue Circle WhatsApp group as well is that there are many people who are able to take the middle path, meaning rather than going for very expensive continuous glucose monitors or pumps, there is always Libre like sensors that are available in the market. They try to put that in, and even if we are unable to do that year round, I think it helps to put that once every 3 months, just to understand how the foods react to their blood sugar levels and so on. So I think it is very important. After one, the stigma is one thing that we talked about, but another thing we want to mention to parents is that to keep a very open mind when it comes to technology and how we can, I think as we have been benefited a lot with respect to technology because we started using Libre Pro sensors. It costs about 2,500 then. But it gave us, and we were not using it continuously. We were just putting it for a week or 2 weeks. We would see how her blood glucose reacts and responds to certain foods and how much insulin they would need. So I think one thing that we would like to touch upon is that while conventional method works, I think there is, as I said, there's element of economics to it, but that's perfect. It will work. But whatever you can bring in, even if not continuously, whatever you can bring in terms of a flash glucose monitor, continuous glucose monitoring, even if it is for a temporary time, you understand that. And if you can do it continuously, great. But if that's not a possibility, then I think we should always look for what is the bare minimum technology that we can leverage. So, and for example, with the Libre Pro, now you can even connect meow meow type devices. There is a lot of articles and discussions that happen that to any smartphone, the number can get transmitted continuously like a CGM. So it essentially converts a flash glucose monitor into a continuous glucose monitor. And I think there is a wealth of information there to understand how the child's blood glucose levels react to every food. So maybe one point is to, again, if you are very new to the to this, if you're a parent of a newly diagnosed child, one thing that has really helped us is to keep a very open mind in terms of the technology and the options that we have. And it's
Same.
great when they go to school, I think.
Yeah. So, Rajiv, this thing you had to face in school sounds very, very familiar because these things keep on happening. Like sometimes your blood sugars are so high and you can't have your tiffin at that particular time. You want to wait it out till your sugars reach a particular level so that you can eat, but then your lecture starts, and then what to do. So the child has to be comfortable enough with the teacher to let him or her know that she has to wait it out and probably eat, take a quick 5-10 minutes break and eat in between or whatever. So for that again, Rajiv, we come back to the same thing, that having a comfort zone, being open about it, being vocal about it, it really helps. Yeah.
So maybe Sonali, you can do the summary or the closing summary of this one, and we have another 10 minutes. If there are any comments, questions, we can also address that.
So, yeah, look, summary would be, parents, don't be apprehensive about the child going to school. It's a very, very, very natural thing, just like a normal child. A few precautions from our side, like having the diet kit in your bag, making sure the child, even though the child is very small, being very open and honest to them about their type 1 and making them understand to whatever level they can understand at that age what it entails. It is very important. I mean, please don't hide from young kids why they can't eat sweets or anything. Don't make humbug stories or anything. Be very clear and precise. They understand what they can at that age and they process it well, and you'll be surprised to the response to that. So one is that, then meeting with your school teachers, creating awareness, talking to the mama, maushis, the caretakers, or whoever is going to be around your child, talking to them, introducing your child to them, and making sure that apart from the diet kit the kid is having in the bag, there is glucose or some glucose gels or snacks in the school cupboard, probably on the floor, because sometimes the schools are high rise or whatever. So whichever floor the child is going to be on, there has to be spare stuff for the child to be administered during a hypo, if the child is not going to be aware. Then uh, anything else? I mean, these are the basic things with when you want to enter school and just start school. Preparing your dabba strategy, preparing a week ahead, and sitting with your child, making sure that he gets something he wants to eat so he doesn't stay hungry or go into an hypo. So just basic things, and being very positive about the school and your whole approach to school, because the child will catch on to you. So be very upbeat and don't show your anxiety to the kid. So let the kid feel that full fun of going to school, and just let type 1 be just sideline, sidekick.
Right. I think that's a very important point you mentioned, Sonali. I think sometimes as parents we can be obsessive about their blood glucose numbers, time in range,
Absolutely.
etc. But I think it's very important to not rub them off with that anxiety and make them nervous as well. I
Correct.
think I have been guilty of that a few times as well.
Yeah.
But I think it's not necessary. You rightly put it that way. We have to look at the positive side of it, the bright sides to it. And I think once one thing we have also in the last 4 years, the journey has been the more and more we learn about it, the fear about it reduces. So I think one way to tackle fear is to understand what is going on, and of course there are people to help, there are books to help, there are YouTube videos to help. So I think as we demystify type 1 diabetes to the extent possible, it can be a rogue disease. Suddenly you do everything fine and still the number shoots up to
Yeah.
300. That will
Yeah.
happen. But I think if 80% of the time, if we're able to control things, I think we shouldn't be anxious or worried or very fearful about it. So one way to handle fear is to, just list down what are the things that you're really worried about, be it hypo, be it hyper, be it their mental, health and so on. But try to learn more about that. Have that conversation with every expert you can find, and what you can do with it. So I guess those are some of the points that.
Yeah. And if you have any hesitation talking to the school or talking to the teachers, Blue Circle is always there. Just write a letter to your school, and the Blue Circle people will just walk into the school and have a nice session with all the teachers or their students and explain everything to them. Anywhere across India, you could have an online session or offline session, and it really works well because the whole format of introducing type 1 and talking about it is done in such a wonderful way that it just simplifies the whole thing for the school. So please just go ahead and ask your school if such sessions can be done by Blue Circle Foundation. It will really, really help.
Right, right.
So
Um,
try and join all these sessions in coffee in all the coffee or runs or whatever happens as a community in all the various cities. For us as a family, especially for me and Rama, it has been a lifesaver, and I'm not joking or exaggerating. We look forward to those meets, and there is such a large amount of learning and sharing and caring going on in these groups that it is just amazing. So please, guys, just don't miss it for anything. Just go and have that experience.
Definitely, Somali. I think I've learned quite a bit from you also. In terms of it's a very, I think it's worth mentioning to say that they have as normal a life, and that they can, and they should be participating in everything,
Yeah.
including the punishments. Yeah. So
Yeah, yeah.
uh,
That's important.
that's important. So to make them feel normal as well.
Yeah.
So I think it's wonderful sharing things with you. I didn't see any specific questions.
Mm,
Uh,
yeah.
so I think hopefully they understood what we said, or no, or didn't understand anything at all. I don't know, but
Yeah.
hope they had an interesting session. I had a lot of fun talking to you, Sonali, and thanks
Yeah,
to
yeah.
you,
We had
for
a lot to
this
share.
session.
With the common age groups of a girl, we had a lot to share. Thanks for
Definitely, definitely.
giving us this opportunity. It was really lovely sharing our
Yeah,
experiences and whatever we went through. Though not perfect, but at least it was a gist.
right, right. Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you very much, everyone.